I tell brother, sister, in law I can't babysit their kids. I, 30 female, live with my husband and my pets. Unfortunately, my hubby and I are infertile, so no kids, and instead we help out with my brother and sister-in-law's kids, young child and toddler girls. I'm a freelance web developer. But I work remotely from home and the timing is very flexible, so I can divert more care towards my nieces. My brother and sister-in-law make just enough to cut even and can't exactly afford exorbitant childcare costs and would instead allocate their funds to the kids' medical and school fees. I've babysat these children for free ever since the oldest was born. And I also handled the care of the younger child. However, recently something dreadful happened. I lost one of my closest friends. I've been in an awful place since then, and the whole emotional fatigue has made me not even want to attend to work. So I specifically took a 2-week leave to rest and come to terms with my emotions. Sadly, my brother feigned sympathy, saying get some rest, and then did the exact opposite by dropping off my nieces when I specifically told him I needed this time for myself. He and sister-in-law then countered, saying that looking after my nieces would help me take my mind off things and that it was too short of a notice. The thing is, I barely have any energy usually when the kids are over. I also take charge of the cooking and cleaning up after the younger ones. In addition, the older niece is now having June holes as compared to before when she'd be a preschool. So now I have to attend to them simultaneously. I have no such energy to look after them like that. I can barely attend to my own needs. It's also a safety issue. Kids, especially my younger niece, need constant monitoring. Now my brother and sister-in-law are threatening me, saying that if I'm not willing to babysit for the next 2 weeks, I should refund them monetarily so they can find childcare. Because of the short notice, I don't understand. Was I supposed to predict my friend's demise or something? It looks like my only option is to pay them back monetarily for the childcare costs, to lay them off my back. My husband thinks it's cruel of them to make me pay. But my brother says I'm being selfish and only thinks everything revolves around my problems. I'm really torn and burned out from all this. I just need a break. I did lash out at them for calling me selfish and have yet to apologise. However, do provide judgment on if they are fair. If so, then I'd be willing to compensate them. Edit. I do not get paid to watch my nieces. I volunteered since my first niece was born. Because of my flexible work hours. I do help out with school fees and rental fees as well, when my brother runs short, and the food costs occasionally. Not the idiot, let me get that straight. You've been babysitting for free for 4 years, and now you pay the parents for not doing that. Tell him to cut it out and find a different solution. Maybe another family member, or you won't babysit again. Tell him his inconsiderate, cruel, and ungrateful behaviour is ruining your relationship. And you won't let yourself be bullied during a time when you are weak. They are way out of line. You gave them the equivalent of $25,000 plus in childcare for free, and they're demanding you pay when you need to take a break. What if you got sick and went to the hospital? Would they expect you to pay them? Then also end your arrangement if it's no longer working for you. You have been more than generous. I think they didn't pay you and want you to pay for them to be parents. Disgusting first. They're not entitled to you looking after their kids at all. Now they're also trying to hold you financially responsible for looking after their children while they work. It's time to stand up for yourself and stop being your brother's doormat. If they attempt to leave those kids with you again, call CPS or whoever handles that where you're from. Don't pay anything either. Their poor management is not your problem. Listen to your husband update thank you all. But the issue is, I'm pretty sure they won't be able to find a replacement sooner. I don't mind paying for a babysitter, but sister-in-law is adamant. It has to be a significantly costlier daycare. She also told me that if I was going to be like this, I should not have taken up the responsibility of looking after them in the first place. And I'm like, what, I never expected this to happen. Really on the verge of losing my sanity. I'm currently 8.5 months pregnant with my first child. It's not been an easy pregnancy, and I have been on bed rest for the past month since we live in the US, and our insurance is crap. I had to take a leave of absence from work without pay. As a result, my husband has had to take on extra time at work to compensate for my lost income, so he's barely home. And when he is, he's exhausted. My mom has been staying with us since I went on bed rest, because I need so much help with everything. She was an air nurse before she retired and has been a godsend. I know we couldn't have made it work without her help. The hospital I am giving birth at still reuses restrictions for the delivery room, where I only allow one other person besides me, because my mom has been with me for the past month, taking me to the doctor, taking care of all my needs, etc. I feel much more comfortable and at ease with her. I wanted her to be in the delivery room with me because she's been so much more present for everything than my husband. I told my husband about my decision this past weekend, and he didn't take it well. He claimed I was denying him a once-in-a-lifetime experience and I was putting my mother over him. I told him it had nothing to do with me placing my mom over him and that this was solely about my comfort. He tried to argue with me about it, but I told him I didn't have the energy to debate him on this and that my decision was final. He's been sulky ever since and hardly speaks to me when he's home. He's even been sleeping on the couch, but is using the excuse that it's easier for me to get better sleep if he's not in bed with me, which I know is BS, and he's just mad. He got home late again last night, and I confronted him about how he was acting and asked him to sleep in the bed with me. He told me he was exhausted from working another 14-hour shift, and he just wanted to be left alone. I told him he's acting like a baby about this, and he needs to realize that his feelings aren't the most important thing here. He said that I'm already denying him a huge life experience, and that I don't get to tell him how he feels about it. So I told him to grow up, and that just because my mom is going to be in the room with me, doesn't make him any less of a father or husband. And then he still get the chance to meet our child. As soon as it's allowed, I told him that he hasn't been with me to doctor visits or birth classes and that my mom has. He said it's not his fault that he has to work so much and that someone must pay for all the baby's needs. I said that he was being unfair to use work as an excuse, because he could easily take time off for the doctor or classes if he really wanted to. He refused to sleep in the bed with me again, and I fell asleep crying. It would mean a lot to him to be in the delivery room, but he hasn't been to the classes or doctor with me. Like my mom, am I the idiot? You are the idiot. Yes, it's your body, your choice, however. The issue is that you're awfully ungrateful for all your partner's sacrifices and utterly disrespectful of his feelings. He's working so much for you. He's exhausted because you can't work. He can't make the appointments because he's working extra for you. Your husband is busting his butt mentally and physically exhausted instead of being grateful. You tell him he's not doing enough. Have you ever stopped to consider that? maybe you aren't doing enough. Have you tried recording the heartbeat for him, or taking photos or videos of the ultrasound have you tried to face? Time him during appointments. Have you done anything to show appreciation and to help include him in this pregnancy? Instead, he's sleeping in the other room because you're being selfish and cruel. Get counseling. What you do next may decide if this marriage continues or ends. Not the idiot. I don't care how many hours your husband works to pay the bills. It does not make him entitled to watch you give birth. He could be working 1,000,000 hours a week, and I still wouldn't care. Giving birth is not a spectator sport. I don't know why so many people are saying he bust his butt off to pay the bills. And you're making him miss a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Like, that's a very great thing he's doing, but it doesn't make him entitled to watch Op's medical procedure. You have the right to choose whoever you want to comfort you while you are in labour. My 29 female sister, 32, asked me to sing at her wedding. I told her I would if she paid me, because I wouldn't sing for free in front of some people. I didn't know she agreed to it, and told me what song to sing the wedding day came. The ceremony was done, and we were now at the reception at the hotel they'd be at for their honeymoon. It was almost time for my sister and her husband to have their first dance. She went up to me asking if I was ready, and I told her she had to pay me first, before I went up. She looked shocked and asked me why she couldn't pay afterward. I told her I wanted to get paid now, and if she didn't pay me, I wouldn't sing. She looked hurt. Then walked towards her husband and whispered something in his ear, which I assume was about me, considering he looked over at where I was. He returned a few minutes later and handed my sister something. She came up to me and gave me the money. I thanked her and went to get ready to sing for her and her husband the whole time she was dancing. She looked kinda sad. I didn't know why until her husband came up to me and told me they could have paid me after the reception. And she was sad that I couldn't just wait. I told him that I don't work for free, not even for family, and left. So now my parents are calling me an idiot for upsetting my sister on the most important day of her life. You are the idiot if you wanted to get your payment before the gig. You should have told them before, not right before the first dance. It wasn't that hard to ask. Even the day before would make you not be idiot to me. Instead, you waited for the worst possible moment to ask for it, basically cornering them in the middle of their ceremony, saying you won't sing with no other option for a replacement for them. For the first dance, I agree there's a reason most bridal gowns don't have pockets, and most brides don't carry a purse. Imagine a caterer walking up to the bride with the tray and demanding to be paid before they start handing out the food. Honestly, Op's approach seems almost designed to create bad vibes for the couple on their wedding day. Fine if you want to get paid, but this was the worst way to go about it. A true professional would get a contract and get paid differently. You ruined their wedding by going all tough businesswoman on them right before their dance. You were implying they weren't trustworthy and trying to get a freebie if you don't understand why she's upset. You should humble yourself and talk to her. But be prepared for her to be upset. Oh, my heart goes to your sister. My heart goes to your sister. My husband, 30, and I, 29 female, are planning a week-long vacation at my vacation home that I inherited from my parents. Some years back, we're leaving Friday and coming home next Friday. We're bringing my 3 kids, tween boy, pre-twin boy, and 1 younger boy my husband had mentioned, bringing along our mutual friends, Rob and Trish, and their 2 daughters, tween and younger. And I was completely okay with this. I told him to invite them as our kids get along grey and they're good company. The vacation home has lake access canoes and kayaks, plenty of fishing and swimming areas, and a nice fire pit. However, they unfortunately can't make it due to work. My sister-in-law, Jen 46, has a tween daughter named Emma. I know I'm 100 gonna sound like an idiot here, but I do not like this child, and I can barely tolerate my sister-in-law. My sister-in-law raised Emma to believe she had autism. She still thinks the doctors simply don't want to diagnose her, despite them running multiple tests and stating it's genuinely just adichie, everything that Emma does is excused as well. She has autism and doesn't think or react the same way as other kids. She's a massive bully to both kids and adults. I can't even count how many times she's looked at me while I'm talking and said, "Will you just stop talking? It's really annoying stuff like that." Well, last week, Emma was pulled from school for mental health because she bullied the wrong kid, and it backfired. So my sister-in-law pulls her from school excuses. It has autism and says she just needs a much-needed mental health break. My sister-in-law knew we were going and asked my husband if they could come, so he asked me if I would be willing to let my sister-in-law and her kid tag along. And I immediately said, no, absolutely not, under no circumstances. He says he understands why I wouldn't want them to, but claims maybe being away from electronics and the city will help his niece. And I said that I wasn't willing to have a crappy time to test whether or not it helps his niece, and that this is supposed to be an hour break, not an added headache. His final argument was that the boys could use the company, and I laughed and said, in what world do you think the boys would want her company considering they don't even like going to her house? He put his hands up and said, all right, no problem. He told his sister I said no, and now she's fuming at us, saying her kid needs the break, and she feels like we're being unnecessarily harsh, not the idiot. Even if Emma has autism, it's an explanation for behavior, but not an excuse. You can explain how it contributes to the problem behaviors while addressing and stopping them if she's going to affect your family negatively and display behavioral issues that her mother will not manage. I can't blame you for not wanting her along. The other kids should not be bullied on their vacation if her child needs a break. She's welcome to provide that break. However, she doesn't get to make other people do it for her. It's your house, so your decision. But can we talk about her husband throwing her under the bus? Shouldn't spouses deal with their family and take the blame for tricky social situations such as this? That was my first thought when I finished reading Ope is not the idiot. But the husband is an idiot for not presenting a united front to the monstrous sister-in-law, or at least taking the blame for it. Each spouse deals with their own family. Come on, this is marriage 101. My wife and I have been married for 10 years, a second marriage for both. I have a 19-year-old daughter from my previous marriage, while she has a 26-year-old daughter with her late husband. We both agreed not to discipline each other's kids, and that neither would be a parental figure. Last year, my daughter left for college. A senior from her same uni was offering a room cheapish, and she decided to move in and aside from when she was at class. My daughter was at home 100 of the time, and the runmate for some reason was mad at this. She ended making my daughter feel bad and uncomfortable to the point she decided to move out earlier than she had to. She asked me for help since I'm the one who lives closer my ex. And I asked my wife if my daughter could come to live with us for a month while we got her another place. She said no, because for her, my daughter was running from being an adult, that we shouldn't coddle her, that she was acting like a baby, and that mommy and daddy shouldn't fix everything. We had to move faster and get her another place. But it stained our relationship, and I confessed that I didn't feel that was okay. Now her daughter married 2 years ago and recently discovered that her husband cheated on her. My wife decided she should come to live with us indefinitely and that we would fully support her because she was a stay-at-home mom. I put a stop to this and I said that we wouldn't do that, or at least I wouldn't, and that the max she could stay here was 2 weeks while she got another place. My wife flipped on me saying that is not my choice since it's our house, and I said that that's the same reason it's not her choice either. She was the one who brought up my daughter's needs and said I was willing to house her and that I was playing favorites. I said I asked for a month, not indefinitely, and I thought my wife called me an idiot. It wasn't fair she was expecting me to drop everything for her daughter while mine was just acting like a baby. She called me an idiot. Said this was different, then went to our room and hasn't come out yet. She refused to eat, and I'm wondering if she's right. Not the idiot. The hypocrisy of your wife is stunning. Her daughter can live in your house indefinitely, but your daughter cannot stay for 2 weeks. Tell her there is one standard: adult children will be helped, or they won't be helped. There is no my daughter gets help, but yours does not. She's showing blatant favoritism towards her child. Over yours, she's let you know exactly how she feels about your child. Believe her. She doesn't care about her, thinks she's spoiled, and doesn't like you, doing what most decent parents would do, so now she expects you to bend over backward for her child. Yes, and let's face it, a 19-year-old is not really an adult, yet there's so much of the adult experience that she hasn't had yet. The 19-year-old had only just moved away to go to college. They're still transitioning to the adult experience. The 26-year-old, on the other hand, has had the full experience of being an adult. I would just repeat, I will welcome your daughter in the same way you welcomed mine if anyone is running from being an adult and crying home for mommy to help it's the wife's daughter. But Opie, I hope your next marriage turns out better than this one.